It was supposed to be a simple banking errand. But when the CEO of one of the largest financial institutions walked into a branch of her own bank, she was met with the kind of treatment no one expects: blatant discrimination. What happened next would leave an entire bank in shock and cost one employee his job on the spot. Monica Johnson was no stranger to long hours, tough decisions, and the relentless grind of the corporate world. As the CEO of Prime National Bank, she had built her empire from the ground up, overcoming hurdles that would have made most people quit. Her journey started with nothing but determination. Growing up in a single-parent household, she watched her mother struggle to make ends meet. Money was tight, but ambition ran deep in Monica's veins. She put herself through college, working multiple jobs while studying finance, and later climbed the ranks in the banking industry by sheer force of will. After years of proving her worth, she didn't just land a high-ranking position. She built her own legacy. Prime National Bank had grown into one of the country's leading financial institutions, and Monica sat at the top of it all. But despite her wealth and success, she never lost sight of the struggles of everyday people. That's why she preferred to keep things simple: no extravagant outfits, no flashy jewelry, just a strong mind and a relentless spirit. So, on that particularly hectic day, when an issue arose with her personal account, Monica chose to handle it herself. Normally, her assistant would have taken care of it, but she had the time and figured it would be easier to stop by one of her own bank's branches in person. Dressed in a simple navy blue dress and sneakers, she parked her black Tesla outside the bank and walked in. The moment Monica stepped through the double glass doors, she took in a familiar scene. The bank branch was a modest-sized location, designed to be both professional and inviting. The walls were lined with sleek digital displays, showcasing the latest financial products and services. A few customers sat in the waiting area, scrolling through their phones or reviewing paperwork, while tellers assisted patrons behind a long, polished counter. Monica had been inside many of her bank's branches before, often unannounced, to ensure operations ran smoothly. She took pride in knowing that Prime National Bank was a place where people, no matter their background, felt comfortable managing their finances. But as she approached the customer service desk, she sensed something different about this visit. A young black woman, possibly in her mid-20s, was at the counter ahead of her, speaking with a teller. Monica couldn't help but notice the slight tension in the air. The teller, a middle-aged man with thinning gray hair and rectangular glasses, was looking at the woman with what could only be described as skepticism. "Ma'am, I'll need another form of identification," he said, his tone edged with impatience. The woman, clearly frustrated, sighed and handed over another card from her purse. "This is my debit card," she explained. "It has my name on it. My ID is right there. I don't understand why this is such a problem." The teller barely glanced at the new card before shaking his head. "I'm sorry, but this is bank policy. We need additional verification for transactions above a certain amount." Monica had heard enough. She had seen this scenario play out too many times, often with people who looked just like her. She wasn't going to intervene just yet, but she would watch closely. The woman reluctantly pulled out another document, handing it over with a tight-lipped expression. The teller inspected it, gave a curt nod, and finally processed the transaction. Monica exhaled slowly. That wasn't the kind of customer service she expected from her employees. As the young woman collected her receipt and walked away, Monica stepped up to counter. "Good afternoon," she said, keeping her tone pleasant. The teller barely glanced up. "Next." Monica placed her bank card on the counter. "I need to discuss an issue with my account." The teller picked up the card and frowned. "Do you have ID?" Monica arched an eyebrow. "Yes, of course." She reached into her small crossbody bag and pulled out her driver's license, placing it beside the bank card. The teller examined both items, then looked up at her, finally giving her his full attention. "What kind of issue are you having?" Monica kept her tone even. "There seems to be an error with the transaction. I'd like to review it." The teller's eyes flickered with something. Doubt, maybe even suspicion. What kind of error? Monica's patience thinned. She had given him the same information any other customer would. Why was this taking so long? "A withdrawal I made yesterday is reflecting correctly in my account," she explained. The teller sighed. as if she were inconveniencing him. "You'll need to sit down with a financial advisor for that." Monica's jaw tightened. "Is that standard procedure?" The teller nodded. "For cases like this, yes." Monica glanced around. The bank wasn't particularly busy. A second teller was assisting another customer, but there was no long line. It was clear he just didn't want to deal with her. "Fine," she said, keeping her composure. "Please direct me to the advisor." The teller waved toward a seating area. "Someone will be with you shortly." Monica turned and walked over to the designated space, but not before catching the way he muttered something under his breath. She didn't hear the words, but the dismissive tone was clear. She sat down, pulling out her phone. If this was how they treated a regular customer, what did that say about the bank's culture? About the people in charge of customer service? She had always prided herself on Prime National Bank's commitment to inclusivity and fairness. But this was unacceptable. A few minutes passed, then 10, then 15. Monica glanced at the clock. How long were they going to make her wait? Her patience was running out. She stood and walked back to the teller. "Excuse me, but I've been waiting for over 15 minutes. The teller looked up, clearly annoyed. "Someone will get to you when they can." Monica inhaled sharply, but she refused to let anger get the best of her. "What's your name?" The teller blinked. "Why?" "Because I want to know the name of the person providing this level of service at my bank." His eyebrows shot up. "Your bank?" She smiled tightly. "Yes, my bank. As in, I'm the CEO of Prime National Bank." The color drained from his face. For the first time since she walked in, he looked at her, really looked at her, and realization hit him like a freight train. Monica could see the panic setting in. His lips parted, but no words came out. He swallowed hard and sat up straighter, his dismissive attitude replaced by nervous energy. "I didn't know," he stammered. "That much is obvious." Monica's voice was calm, but there was an undeniable edge to it. "And I have to say, I'm deeply disappointed in what I've witnessed here today." The entire bank seemed to go still. Customers who had previously been minding their own business were now paying attention. Other employees shifted uncomfortably behind the counter. Monica leaned forward slightly. "Tell me, is this how you treat all your customers, or just the ones you assume don't belong?" Silence. The teller looked down at his hands, his breathing shallow. Monica wasn't done. She straightened her posture, her presence commanding the room. "I want the branch manager. Now!" And just like that, the day took a turn that would shake the entire bank to its core. Mr. Harris's eyes flickered with panic before he smoothed his expression into a professional mask. He stepped forward, adjusting his tie. "Ms. Williams, what surprise? What seems to be the issue here?" Daniel turned to his manager, still oblivious to the weight of the moment. "This woman is claiming to be the owner of a high net worth account, but there were some irregularities. I was just following protocol." Monica arched a brow. "Irregularities? And what were those exactly?" Her voice was calm, but the fire in her eyes was undeniable. Mr. Harris cleared his throat and shot Daniel a look that should have set off alarms in his head. "Ms. Williams is indeed the owner of one of our premier business accounts. I can personally vouch for that." The murmur in the bank grew louder. Customers who had been eavesdropping exchanged glances. Some pulled out their phones, subtly recording the interaction. Daniel's face drained of color. "Wait, what?" Daniel stammered. "But she is one of our most valued clients," Mr. Harris interrupted, his voice sharp. "And for what I just overheard, you have treated her with a level of disrespect that is unacceptable." Monica crossed her arms. "Disrespect is putting it lightly. Your employee just implied that I don't look the part of someone with wealth, that I don't belong here." Daniel paled further. "I mean, what exactly did you mean?" Mr. Harris's voice was dangerously calm now. "Please enlighten me." Daniel's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. He had no defense. Mr. Harris turned back to Monica. "Ms. Williams, I sincerely apologize for this entire ordeal. This is not how we conduct business. I assure you that Daniel will be dealt with accordingly." Monica's lips curled into a humorless smile. I don't need assurances, Mr. Harris. I need action. She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. You and I both know that this isn't an isolated incident. People like Daniel operate under the belief that their biases are justified, that it's just protocol to treat black clients with suspicion. I could take my business elsewhere, but I'd rather see something change. Mr. Harris swallowed hard. Understood. Monica straightened. I want him gone. Effective immediately. Daniel gasped. Wait! That's not fair. I was just doing my job. Monica didn't even spare him a glance. Your job was to treat me like any other client. You failed. Mr. Harris nodded once. Security, please escort Daniel out of the building. 2 uniformed guards stepped forward. Daniel looked around, as if waiting for someone to defend him. No one did. The other customers watched in silence, some shaking their heads. The woman who had been recording the exchange held her phone steady, capturing the moment. One of the guards placed a firm hand on Daniel's arm. Sir, let's go. Daniel jerked away. This is ridiculous. You're firing me because you let your prejudice dictate how you did your job. Monica cut in. Actions have consequences. Now leave. Daniel's face twisted with frustration, but he saw the finality in Mr. Harris's expression. Defeated, he turned and stormed toward the exit, the security guards following closely behind. As the door shut behind him, silence settled over the bank. Mr. Harris turned back to Monica. Again, Ms. Williams, I deeply regret this. Monica regarded him for a moment, then extended her hand. Good. Now let's talk about how you're going to make sure this never happens again. Mr. Harris nodded and gestured toward his office. Right this way. As she walked past the stunned customers, Monica held her head high. This wasn't just about her. It was about every black entrepreneur, every professional, every individual who had ever been dismissed, doubted, or demeaned. Today, she had made a statement, and the world was watching. This story is not just a one-time event. Situations like Monica's happen across America every day. Black professionals, business owners, and everyday citizens face discrimination based on outdated stereotypes. Whether it's in banking, real estate, retail, or corporate spaces, the bias remains. If you've experienced something similar or want to help spread awareness, make sure to subscribe to this channel. The more we share these stories, the harder they become to ignore. Together, we can shed light on these injustices and demand change. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We have more stories coming that need to be told.